Welcome back to my channel. On this particular video, I'll be looking at the books, the magical writings, the very grimoires of Damien Echols. Christmas is coming, my friends. The goose is getting fat. We're all looking for gift ideas, so I thought I'd open up the doors of Danny's occult bookstore and let you in for some reviews and some guidance on some purchases you may or may not wish to make over the silly season, either for a loved one or yourself. Now, Damien Echols is a particularly interesting author in that he spent most of his magical career, his magical time, sitting in prison on death row for a crime that he did not commit. He was completely innocent. He did about 20 years, and not an easy 20 years, let me tell you. This is a story that you can Google and get all the grim details. But he came out, he beat the case, he came out, he's a free man now, and he writes books on magic. And they're very interesting books too, because like the best magical authors, he's had a life, you know? I mean, you get people that have never actually put in a shift, done anything really, then start writing books on these matters, and because they can be an expert on that, and that becomes their thing. I prefer authors that have got a life away from this stuff and then write about it on the side. That's why I love Alan Moore so much, why I love Grant Morrison so much. They're creative, brilliant men out there in the world, and then the magical wisdom's almost like an after, you know, it's not how they make their living, but they share it, but it works, and they make their living with their own creativity. Damien Echols falls very much into this camp in that these practices that he shares in these books are the things that got him through a situation that I can't even begin to comprehend, and he practices them still. He has a very good result back from life. Don't know him beyond sending him a nice message once on Instagram, and he very kindly replied, and that's the only sort of interaction we've had. Let's get into his books. Now, the first one is this: High Magick by Damien Echols. I've talked about it before. A guide to the spiritual practices that saved my life on death row. And it literally is. Now, this particular one is superb. I cannot recommend it enough, in fact. Especially if you're just starting out on this path, because he takes you from no assumed prior knowledge to quite far down the way. There are a number of books now. There's loads of books now to get you started, in fact. And you know, there's the old Donald Michael Craig one. People still turn to that. Obviously, Alan Moore's just dropped a fairly tasty one. Have a look at my previous video for a talk about that. But this falls into that bracket of beginners, but from beginner to intermediate, let's say. He does go into great detail in this book. He does give you some wonderful stuff. He gives you the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram. He gives you the middle pillar ritual, all mainstays of the beginner's magic book, you know. But he's got a take on them. That's what I think I like about this book. This is very much his take on the thing. You get his voice comes through. You feel like you're having a chat with him, as opposed to sort of cookie cutter magician doing their handbook for the beginner that they've just kind of cobbled together. You get the impression you spent time with him by the end of it. He tells you some personal stuff in here, anecdotes, how he's applied these things, how they've worked for him, what he's seen, what he hasn't seen, etc., which makes it very interesting. It's also a very joyous book to hold in the hand. It's got a lovely feel to it. This lovely waxy dust cover makes it feel very pleasant to hold and very easy to open, very easy to read, and physically beautiful. I mean, it's full of some wonderful illustrations. It's laid out beautifully. And as I say, he takes you from absolutely rank beginner to intermediate. He gives you various rituals, various meditations, various practices. It gives you some breathing stuff to get you going with that and get you into inducing altered states of consciousness. He gets you into the various planets, what they mean, seasonal stuff. As I say, the middle pillar, the Kabbalistic cross, the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, the lesser invoking ritual, the pentagram. You know, it's really good stuff. Bare bones invocation. He gets into invocation stuff, evocation, thought forms. It's packed. There's enough in here. If you just got this will keep you going for about a year, easily. There's actually enough in here to build an entire practice around. If you just had this, you've got enough. You know what I mean? I'd recommend reading more, but if you had to just get one, you'd be fine with this. Can't recommend that highly enough. High Magick by Damien Echols. Very, very good indeed. His second book, Angels and Archangels, A Magician's Guide. It's thicker, it's denser, but interestingly, it doesn't contain more. Now, because again, this is a beautiful book and I do recommend it, but it's laid out in such a way, like in this book, you get an awful lot of full pages of diagrams, you know. So though it's thicker, a lot of that thickness is comprised of charts and tables and things, as opposed to, you know, like he goes through each tarot card gets its own page, you know. This is more of an advanced manual and it deals specifically, as the title would indicate, with working with angels. And that's not something that I've done an awful lot of. I've always enjoyed the energy-based models of magic, you know, Taoist magic and Huna, things that I never liked being subservient to a spirit or a god, getting on my knees and praying. I never liked that image. I wanted to be self-sufficient as a younger man. However, in this book, he's explained what angels and archangels actually are to me in a way that I can understand it, in a way that I can grok. And it's actually very powerful stuff in here. Very powerful stuff. It will redefine what you think of as an angel, for a start. And it will redefine how you could maybe interact with such a thing. And whether it's external of you, whether it's an actual thing that lives in the universe and that you're talking to it, or whether it's an extension of your own psyche, it's an aspect of yourself that you're tuning into and giving some energy to, and to empowering an aspect of the self that you've maybe, you know, not focused on like you should, and it's withered and you need to bring it back to life. You know, there's different ways of looking at these things, and he covers those in here. I got this book a couple of years ago. I've only really started reading it recently, and I tell you what, it's been very, very rewarding. The highest compliment you can ever give to a book of this nature, if there's something in it that you actually incorporate and use in your own life. And this book has that. There's a couple of things in here that I've incorporated that I'm using and that give me some good results back creatively in terms of artistic stuff, you know. So I'm really enjoying it, going into it. And the other nice thing about this, though, it's an advanced book. Now this, although this comes after this, he kind of does a brief recap of this in this. So you could get this and just this one, and you've got some of the rituals from that one, albeit in a condensed form, a briefer explanation, but he does go into them. You could just get this and start with it. I would recommend that you don't. I would recommend that you get both of these, but I recommend that you get them in that order. High Magick, then this one. The order they're meant to be read in. And they're very nice on a shelf. They look good together, you know. Again, it's the same production values, and the two books complement each other beautifully. Now his third book, Ritual. Right, I'm not going to slag it off. This is a good book. It is a solid book. It's not what I wanted. When I heard this was coming out and that it was called Ritual, you know, I'm thinking, right, because the rituals he's given in these two, they build and they build and they build, and the power of them, ba-ba-boom, ba-ba-boom, ba-ba-boom. This one's called Ritual. This is going to go really into the workings of ritual and high magic, and it doesn't, not really. It's a kind of he's written it with his partner, this one. So this is the first one where he's not the sole author, who by all accounts is lovely. And it's good. I mean, it's good. It is good. It is good. There's great stuff in here. But it's just it's a load of little rituals, basically. Little things you do when you're in, you know, very much of the light a candle when you get in the bath nature. You know, I wanted something that was going to go deep into the workings of the universe. And this is just you know, if you want more money, light a candle type. It's very fluffy. But it's also very well written. Although the content is light, it's well written. You can tell when he's written a piece and when the partner has, because you can tell they're different voices. And one of them is a magic teacher who's devoted his life to it, and one is a magic teacher who got into it about 3 years ago by the sound of things. But that doesn't matter. You know, she's by all accounts a wonderful woman, and the two of them are a partnership. And this is a book born of their relationship. You know, you can't really knock that. As an object, it's beautiful. Now, I'll tell you what I'd recommend this for. I do recommend this, by the way. I know I'm being a little bit... That's only because after these two, it was a letdown. That's all. These two were so good, and I thought this was going to build on them, and it doesn't. It's actually a step back. If this had come out first, it might be a different story. If he'd published this first and then gone into these other two, there would have been a progression, you know? But he didn't. And, but I tell you what I do recommend this book too. So there's nothing in here you couldn't get out of these two. But, because of its format and its nature, this is a great book as a gift for that teenager in your life who's just getting interested in these things and you're not sure what to get them going, to get them interested, you know, they're just on the cusp. They're maybe not ready for High Magick. It's a bit of a dense read. They're maybe not ready for the bumper book of magic that I mentioned a couple of videos ago. They're dabbling, they're curious. This is a great book for them because it'll get them doing stuff straight away. It's very easy to read, and they'll know whether they want to kind of commit to this as a path or not by the end of this. So I recommend it as a gift. This is more of a book you give for other people. Another slightly irritating thing about it, I know, and this is pure pettiness on my part, is just that I'd like it to match the others. Same publisher, you know, I just like it to match the others as a thing on my shelf. That's just me being anal, but it's a thing, you know. I wanted the third volume of these chronicles, and I sort of got the cliff notes, you know. But I did enjoy it. There's some great stuff in here. I'm not trying to knock it. I'm just comparing it to these two, and it comes up wanting. On its own, it's fine. It's fine, and it's a nice gift book. It looks nice. It's a nice present to unwrap. The layout's not quite as striking as these two, but it is still a beautiful thing to look at. Plenty of runes and stuff in it, sigils, various rituals, things you can do, you know, very much. And a bit more witchcrafty, for want of a better term. These are all High Magick. These are all very much Golden Dawn-esque rituals, Crowley-esque rituals, things of this nature. This one's a little bit more go to the woods, make a tote bag, that stuff, which doesn't speak to me personally. But if it does speak to you, it's a great book. And if you want it, and as I say, as a gift, I'm waffling now and repeating myself. And those are the books of Damien Echols, my friends. There's two here that I recommend wholeheartedly. There's one that I do recommend, but with the reservations that I mentioned. I hope you enjoyed this video. There'll be more coming down the pipe, so stay tuned. I'll see you on the next one. Till then, my friends, have a cracking week. Take care.